She watched the woman who stole her boss's heart parade her new engagement ring across the ballroom until he grabbed her hand and declared her his fiancée in front of everyone. But it was all a lie. Or was it? Before we dive in, hit that subscribe button and stay until the very end of this story. Drop a comment telling me what city you're watching from. I love seeing how far these stories travel around the world. The crystal chandeliers of the Ashford Zenith Hotel cast dancing shadows across the marble floors as champagne flutes clinked in celebration. For Emma Sterling, a 24-year-old media intern drowning in student debt and self-doubt, the grand opening felt less like a party and more like walking through a minefield in heels 2 sizes too small. She positioned herself 3 steps behind her boss, the enigmatic billionaire Alexander Ashford. Her entire job description summed up in 3 words: invisible, efficient, indispensable. The air shifted when she entered. Victoria Cross, Alexander's ex-fiancée. She glided through the crowd like a shark circling wounded prey, her crimson dress a declaration of war. Her arm linked through that of Marcus Vale, Alexander's former best friend and current business rival. The diamond on her finger could have funded Emma's entire education. It wasn't just large, it was a statement, a trophy, proof that she'd traded up. Emma's stomach twisted as she watched them approach. She'd spent 3 months as Alexander's intern learning to read the micro-expressions that crossed his face when billion-dollar deals collapsed or succeeded. Right now, she saw something she'd never witnessed before: a hairline fracture in his armor. "Alexander, darling?" Victoria's voice dripped with poisoned honey. Her eyes swept over Emma with the interest someone might show a potted plant. "Aren't you going to introduce me to your assistant?" The word hung in the air like a slap. Emma braced herself. She expected Alexander to deliver one of his trademark ice-cold dismissals, the kind that made grown men cry in boardrooms. Instead, the world tilted sideways. His hand slid to the small of her back, warm, possessive, claiming. The touch sent electricity racing up her spine. He pulled her forward, tucking her against his side, as if she belonged there, as if she'd always belonged there. "Victoria, Marcus." His voice was silk over steel. "This is Emma Sterling." The pause that followed felt eternal. "My fiancée." The words detonated like a bomb in the space between them. Emma's heart stopped. Literally stopped. The ballroom sounds, the music, the laughter, the clinking glasses, all faded to white noise. Victoria's predatory smile cracked like cheap porcelain. Marcus's champagne glass froze halfway to his lips. Before Emma could process what was happening, Alexander leaned close. His breath tickled her ear. His cologne, something dark and expensive cedar in midnight, clouded her panicked thoughts. "Please," he whispered, so quiet only she could hear. "Just trust me. I'll explain everything." The command was there, yes, but underneath it lived something Emma had never heard from the formidable Alexander Ashford: desperation, raw and real and human. Her mind spun. She was 24 years old, barely making rent, her acting dreams crushed under the weight of practical reality. But she'd spent 4 years in theater school before the money ran out. She knew how to perform. Emma turned her face toward Victoria, and something inside her clicked into place. She let a slow, radiant smile bloom across her lips, the kind of smile that said she knew secrets, that said she'd already won. "It's so lovely to finally meet you." Emma said, her voice warm, maple syrup over razor blades. She extended her hand with perfect grace. "Alexander has told me so much about your history together." The word history landed exactly as she intended. Past tense, buried, done. Victoria's mouth opened and closed like a dying fish. Alexander stared down at Emma, and for the first time since she'd started working for him, she saw genuine surprise in his eyes. Not gratitude, not relief, pure stunned admiration. The game had begun, and she'd just played her opening move. The moment they escaped to the moonlit balcony, the mask shattered. Alexander's hand dropped from her back as if she'd burned him. The cool night air couldn't begin to touch the heat of her anger. What the hell was that? His voice was low, dangerous, a tiger's growl wrapped in a $3,000 suit. Emma spun to face him, her chest heaving, fear and fury warring in her veins. "You put me on stage, Mr. Ashford. I decided to perform. Something flickered across his face. Was that respect? Impressive. He moved to the balcony edge, the city lights stretching below like scattered diamonds. But this doesn't end tonight. Her blood ran cold. He turned back all business now. I need a fiancé, a believable one, for the next 3 months. He laid it out like a corporate merger. Social events, business dinners, enough public appearances to prove to the world that I wasn't the pathetic fool they left behind. And I'm the solution. Her voice was flat hollow. You are. He named a figure a bonus that would erase half her student debt in one stroke. Plus a promotion. No more coffee runs. You'll work directly with me on special projects. Emma felt like she was standing on the edge of a cliff. Behind her, drowning in debt, serving coffee to people who didn't know her name, her mother's disappointed voice asking when she'd get a real job. Before her opportunity, power, a chance to prove she was more than invisible. I'll do it, she said. But I want something else. A real project. Something that matters. I want to prove I belong in that boardroom, not just on your arm. Alexander studied her, really looked at her perhaps for the first time. Deal. But understand this, Emma. He stepped closer, close enough that she had to tilt her head back to meet his eyes. This is business. Just business. Which brings me to the only rule you need to remember. His voice dropped, became almost gentle, which somehow made it more terrifying. Don't fall in love with me. The rule hung between them like a challenge, like a dare, like a prophecy. Emma laughed, short, sharp, defensive. She dragged her gaze over him deliberately, dismissively. Don't worry, Mr. Ashford. My heart is in no danger. She turned to leave, but his voice stopped her. Emma, wait. She paused, her back to him. For this to work, we need to be convincing. I need to know you. Really know you. His tone shifted, became almost uncertain. Lunch tomorrow, our first real date. He paused. And Emma, call me Alexander. By morning, the story had already exploded across social media. Mystery woman tames the Ice King. Ashford's secret romance. The office buzzed like a disturbed beehive as Emma walked through head high, ignoring the whispers that followed her like smoke. But Emma wasn't preparing for a date. She was preparing for war. She spent the morning researching, devouring every article, every photo, every public appearance of Alexander and Victoria's golden couple era. The timeline painted itself clearly: 3 years of picture-perfect romance, society's favorite power couple. Then 1 month ago, nothing. Just a clean, brutal break. That's when Emma found it. A candid shot from a charity gala. Alexander and Victoria in the foreground. But in the background, Marcus Vale looking at Victoria with unmistakable hunger, and Victoria's hand behind her back, fingers interlaced with someone else's. Not Alexander's. They'd been having an affair, right under Alexander's nose. Her phone buzzed. A text from Alexander. Car picks you up at noon. Wear something convincing. The restaurant was the kind of place where reservations required a 3-month waiting list and a blood sacrifice. Emma walked in wearing a simple navy dress she'd found in the back of her closet, her heart hammering so hard she thought everyone could hear it. Alexander stood when she arrived, a gesture that made every woman in the restaurant turn to stare. He pulled out her chair, his hand briefly touching her shoulder, a reminder they were performing. But when he sat down, the mask slipped just enough. I owe you an explanation. Emma leaned forward, keeping her voice low. You owe me the truth. His jaw tightened. For a long moment he said nothing, just traced the rim of his water glass with one finger. When he finally spoke, his voice was stripped of its usual armor. 3 years. I was with Victoria for 3 years. I thought... He stopped, struggling with words in a way she'd never seen. I thought I knew what loyalty meant, what friendship meant. What happened? I came home early from a business trip. Found them together. In my home. In my bed. The words were clinical, but his knuckles were white around his glass. Marcus had been my friend since college. My best man. The person I trusted with everything. Emma's throat tightened. I'm sorry. Don't be. His eyes met hers, and they were fierce, burning. I'm not looking for pity. I'm looking for revenge. The word hung between them like a blade. The engagement announcement, Emma said slowly, understanding dawning. You wanted to hurt them. I wanted to show them they didn't break me. He leaned back. that I could move on, that I didn't need either of them. His lips curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. But I didn't expect you to be so convincing. Heat crept up Emma's neck. I was terrified. You were magnificent. The word sent shivers down her spine that had nothing to do with the air conditioning. They spent the next hour building their story. First date a coffee shop where he'd noticed her reading. Secret dating 2 months. Why kept quiet his position, her internship, office complications. Every detail carefully constructed. But somewhere between courses, something shifted. Alexander asked about her family. She told him about her mother working 2 jobs, her theater dreams dying when money ran out, feeling like she was always performing, never quite real. He listened. Really listened. You're still performing, he said quietly. Aren't we all? His eyes held hers for a beat too long. Maybe that's the problem. The check came. As they stood to leave, Alexander's hand found the small of her back again, that same possessive touch from the night before. But this time, Emma noticed something different. A slight hesitation before contact. As if he was asking permission. As if he too was uncertain about where performance ended and truth began. Outside photographers were waiting. The first camera flash exploded in her face like lightning. Emma instinctively froze, prey caught in a predator's sight. But Alexander's arm immediately wrapped around her waist, pulling her close, shielding her. Don't look at them, he murmured. Look at me. She did. And something in his eyes made her forget they were pretending. He kissed her. Not a performance, not a show. A real kiss, deep and demanding and desperate. His hand cradling the back of her head like she was something precious. Emma's world narrowed to the taste of him coffee, and something darker, the solid warmth of his body against hers, the way her hands fisted in his jacket without her permission. When they broke apart, she was shaking. Sorry. He whispered, his forehead against hers. They needed a good shot. But his hands were trembling too. The photos went viral within hours. The kiss became the most shared image on social media that week. Emma's phone exploded with messages from people she hadn't talked to in years. But it was Alexander's text that night that made her breath catch. Thank you for today. You're a much better actress than you give yourself credit for. She stared at the message for 20 minutes before typing back, so are you. The 3 months that followed were a masterclass in playing pretend. Charity galas, business dinners, weekend brunches with his wealthy friends. But it was the private moments that unraveled her. Late nights working on the project he'd promised, a complete rebranding strategy for Ashford Media's charitable foundation. The way he listened to her ideas pushed her to think bigger. The coffee he made for her, remembering oat milk and 2 sugars. The jacket he draped over her shoulders when she fell asleep at her desk. You're more than I expected, he said one night. What did you expect? Someone who would just go along with everything. Someone smaller. Emma looked up from her laptop. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Alexander's expression was unreadable. I haven't decided yet. But she caught him watching her sometimes when he thought she wasn't looking. And the way he touched her started to change. Less performance, more possession, more real. The cracks started showing at the Anderson Foundation Gala week 9 of their arrangement. Victoria was there with Marcus, of course. They always were, like villains who couldn't resist returning to the scene of their crime. But this time, Victoria was drunk. Not elegantly tipsy, messy drunk, the kind that strips away filters and reveals ugly truths. She cornered Emma in the ladies' room. You think you're so clever, don't you? Victoria's words slurred together. Playing house with Alexander. Wearing your little Cinderella dresses. Emma kept washing her hands, watching Victoria in the mirror. I think you should sit down. He doesn't love you. Victoria laughed, harsh and bitter. He can't. He doesn't know how. I tried for 3 years to get him to feel something, anything. He's a robot. A beautiful, rich robot. Something protective and fierce rose in Emma's chest. You don't know anything about him. I know everything about him. Victoria's voice rose. I know he'll work with you until 3 a.m. and never once ask how you're feeling. I know he'll buy you diamonds, but forget your birthday. I know he'll look at you like you're the most important thing in the world and then turn around and treat you like a business transaction. Her eyes were wild, mascara running. Is that why you left him for Marcus? Emma asked quietly. Victoria's face crumpled. Marcus sees me. Really sees me. not as an asset or a strategic partner or a pretty face to bring to events. He sees me. For a moment, Emma almost felt sorry for her. Almost. Then why do you keep coming to these events? Why do you keep watching us? Victoria's laugh was broken glass. Because I need to know it wasn't me. I need to see him do the same thing to you. I need to watch you break the way I broke. She leaned close, her voice dropping to a whisper. And you will break, sweetheart. Because this... She gestured vaguely. Whatever you think this is, it's not real. It's never been real. The door opened. Alexander stood in the entrance to the ladies' room, breaking every social convention, his eyes locked on Emma's face. We're leaving, he said quietly. Victoria laughed. Of course you are. Run away like you always do when things get too real. But Alexander didn't look at her. His eyes never left Emma. Now, in the car, silence stretched between them like a chasm. Emma stared out the window, Victoria's words circling in her head like vultures. Alexander's jaw was tight, his hands gripping the steering wheel until his knuckles went white. She's wrong, he said suddenly. Is she? Emma. No, it's fine. She forced brightness into her voice. We have one more month. Then this is over. That was always the deal, right? The car swerved slightly. Alexander pulled over, parking on a quiet street overlooking the city. He killed the engine. The sudden silence was deafening. Is that what you want? His voice was rough. For this to be over. Emma's heart hammered. This was dangerous territory. The rule. Don't fall in love with me. It doesn't matter what I want. We had an agreement. Screw the agreement. He turned to face her. I'm asking what you want. Why? The word came out broken. Why does it matter? Because somewhere between that first night and right now, this stopped being pretend for me. His confession hung in the air like a live wire. And I think it stopped being pretend for you too. Emma couldn't breathe. Alexander, tell me I'm wrong. Tell me when I touch you it's just acting. Tell me when I kiss you you're not kissing me back. Tell me you don't fall asleep at your desk because you want to be near me. Tell me I'm alone in this. The truth clawed at her throat. You made a rule. I know. You said no feelings, no complications. I know. You said... Her voice broke. You said not to fall in love with you. I know. He reached out his hand, trembling slightly as it cupped her face. And I broke my own rule first. The world stopped spinning. What? I fell in love with you, Emma. Completely. Catastrophically. I fell in love with the way you challenge me. The way you see through all my walls. The way you make me want to be better than I am. His thumb traced her cheekbone. I fell in love with your brilliance and your kindness and your courage. I fell in love with you. Tears streamed down Emma's face. This wasn't supposed to happen. I know. We had rules. I know. I'm terrified. Me too. He leaned his forehead against hers. But I'm more terrified of pretending I don't love you for one more day. Emma kissed him. Not for cameras, not for show. She kissed him like he was air, and she was drowning, like he was the answer to questions she'd been too afraid to ask. His arms wrapped around her, pulling her as close as physics would allow in the confines of the car. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Alexander smiled, really smiled, the kind that transformed his entire face. So, he said, his voice rough with emotion. Do we have a new agreement? Emma laughed through her tears. What are the terms? No more pretending, no more rules, just us, real, messy, terrifying. And if it doesn't work, his eyes were serious. Then we'll have been brave enough to try. That's more than most people can say. Emma thought about Victoria's words, about all the ways this could break her, about the risk and the fear and the absolute insanity of falling in love with your fake fiancé. Then she thought about the way Alexander brought her coffee, the way he listened to her ideas, the way he looked at her like she hung the moon, the way he'd just torn down every wall he'd ever built and stood before her vulnerable and real and hers. Okay, she whispered. New agreement. Real, messy, terrifying. And one more thing. Alexander added, his smile turning mischievous. We probably need to tell people we're actually engaged now. You know, for real this time. Emma's jaw dropped. Are you proposing? Would you like me to? Because I can get down on one knee right here in this car. It won't be graceful, but... She kissed him again, laughing against his lips. Yes, yes to all of it. Yes to the mess and the terror and the real. Yes to you. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Emma's heart stopped. "I bought this 3 weeks ago," he admitted. "Kept telling myself it was just for show. Just in case we needed a more convincing prop. But that was a lie." He opened the box, revealing a ring that took her breath away. Not ostentatious like Victoria's, but elegant, timeless, perfect. "I bought it because I couldn't imagine anyone else wearing it. Because I couldn't imagine a future without you in it." The ring slid onto her finger like it had always belonged there. "I love you." Emma said the words finally free, finally real. "I love you too," Alexander replied. "No more rules except one." "What's that?" His smile was pure happiness. "Stay." 6 months later, the offices of Ashford and Sterling Consulting opened to a celebration that rivaled any Ashford event. But this time, there were no lies, no performance. Just two equal partners who'd built something real from the ashes of something fake. Emma stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows of their new space, a place she'd designed herself warm and collaborative, and nothing like Alexander's cold, minimalist fortress. She watched the city lights twinkle below, still amazed that this was her life now, arms wrapped around her waist from behind. Alexander's chin rested on her shoulder, his body warm against her back. "Happy," he murmured. "Terrified," she admitted. "What if I'm not good enough? What if I fail?" "Then you fail, and you get back up, and you try again." He turned her to face him. "But Emma, look what you've already built. This company is as much yours as mine. More even. You're the heart of it." She looked around at the space filled with their first employees, their first clients, the fruit of months of hard work and sleepless nights and fierce belief in each other. "We did it," she whispered. "You did it," he corrected. "I just had the good sense to recognize brilliance when I tripped over it in a ballroom." Emma laughed, then grew serious. "Do you ever think about that night, about how this all started with a lie?" Alexander considered this. "I think about it every day. About how the best thing that ever happened to me started with the worst thing that ever happened to me. About how losing everything led me to finding you. That's very poetic for a CEO. You bring out my romantic side." He kissed her forehead. "Besides, it wasn't really a lie, was it? It was more like a prophecy, a preview of what was coming. A very expensive, very complicated prophecy. The best ones always are." Later that night, after the last guests had gone and the office was quiet, they stood together in the conference room, where they'd made so many plans, fought so many battles, built so many dreams. "I have something for you," Alexander said. He pulled out a leather folder. Emma laughed. "More contracts on our opening night. Just one more." He opened it, revealing a single document. "Our partnership agreement. Official and legal and binding." She scanned the pages, everything they'd worked on for months. Every detail of how they'd run the company together as equals. Her signature line was at the bottom next to his. But then she noticed something. A handwritten addition at the end in Alexander's distinctive script, addendum. "The undersigned partners hereby acknowledge that this business relationship is inextricably linked to a personal relationship defined by love, respect, and the occasional argument about who makes better coffee. Both partners agree to face all future challenges, professional and personal, as a team. No more rules about falling in love. Just a promise to keep falling every day forever." Emma looked up at him, tears in her eyes. "Sign it," he said softly. "Make it official. Make us official." She picked up the pen, her hand steady, her heart sure. She signed her name next to his, binding them together in business and life. "I love you," she said. "I love you too," he replied. "No more pretending." "No more pretending," she agreed. And when he kissed her, it was the most real thing in the world. Our story ends here, but so many more are waiting for you. If this story touched your heart, hit that subscribe button. Tell me in the comments what you felt and what city you're watching from. I love knowing how far these stories travel. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you in the next story.